The Flyin Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flyin Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
Soccer is my favorite sport now.
Jersey swap. Car of the week, trivia question of the week.
Welcome back to the Flyin Lion Podcast, everyone. We are here hopefully on a very eventful week for FC Cincinnati. We had a lot of news since the last time we had recorded. I'm wearing my kit tonight for those who aren't watching the video, hoping that we get this new kit here soon. Sam, how we doing? I know you're not wearing a jersey.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan, you never know when you're going to get those new kits. Maybe I'm like Denke, though. Maybe I've got the kit underneath the little quarter zip I'm rocking tonight. So maybe that's what I'm doing. You know, maybe they actually sent it to my house and we're like, hey, we want Sam to unveil it. If you go, watch the episode, you don't know, right? So I guess we'll see.
Leak it to footy headlines. I know they're getting all the...
Did you see? Was it Seattle or Portland? There was that one influencer that had
Seattle, I believe.
Yeah. Did you see that where she put out? Oh, and there's the new kit.
Whoops. I think for Charlotte too was at the NBA game, and Zaha is holding it up with one of the NBA players, and whether that was intentional or not, but excited to see, what happens with ours. We haven't heard anything about
nothing,
a date or, anything. So I would imagine probably tomorrow we're going to at least get, by Friday, you're going to know what it is on Valentine's Day. But we'll see. We had a lot of things going on, like I mentioned, over the past 2 weeks. A lot of roster updates we'll get you guys caught up on. Roster rumors, some FCC2 signings as well. We got another trivia question for you guys. Shout out to those who have gotten those right. We've had a lot of comments about that. We're going to find some sort of reward for you guys for getting those right. We will probably highlight a lot in the second part of the episode. Preseason game number 2 against the Dynamo, and then number 3 against Philly. Shout out to Philly for letting us watch that one. That was nice. For all the sickos that wanted to watch a preseason match, but hey, I'll take it. And then we'll preview the last preseason game, which is crazy. The season's coming up here shortly. So we'll roll right into it. Sam, why don't you kick us off with some roster updates?
Yeah, unfortunately, a couple weeks ago, Laura Failer had put out that our own Dado Valenzuela will be out till the end of February, most likely, due to a hamstring injury. It's looking timeline-wise that he'll be back for either the second leg of the Champions Cup or the first away match, which will be against the Philadelphia Union. So hopefully we'll have him back. So that'll be nice. And then Ryan, we got the announcement. We got another official announcement. Gilberto Flores officially announced exactly what we had thought, what was reported, everything. U22 initiative player, contract through 2027 with a 28 and 29 option. He's actually the first Paraguayan player to sign with FC Cincinnati, which is pretty interesting. But according to his social channels, he has yet to report, probably due to medical, getting his green card, you had said, right?
Yeah, not necessarily medical. I think it's more in the paperwork side of things and trying to get him a work visa over here. From, like you said, his social media channels, there's videos of him, doing his own little training down there. I know everyone was kind of zooming in on the Philly game and saying, oh, is that him out there? No, unfortunately not. It's nice to see he's officially announced. I mean, this is one of 2 that we've been, rumored hardcore with, if you want to say that. But to finally have that official, but we got to get the player here. That's the big thing, especially with, you mentioned injuries. If Dado's out, Santos is out, we're hearing that Hadebe's got a knock, so Miazga, Hagelin, those guys aren't even back yet. So who's starting in the back line for match day number 1 or even for CONCACAF Champions Cup? So we would love to have Flores there. He's, I think, Sam, would you say in the middle of his season, I think, too? So he should be close to
beginning it. Yeah. So hopefully, by the time we get him in, he can join and get acquainted with some of the guys. But we did have another guy that finally showed up, Sam. Yuya Kubo was in Clearwater with the squad. He played in the game on Friday. It was an interesting situation if you
kind of look at the Lucho drama going on and the Kubo drama and the Luca Orishano drama, all of these guys relate to training in preseason. Pat was kind of mentioning it's a case-by-case situation for each one. Maybe Kubo had more of a fitness level than Lucho. I don't know. You could take that for a blanket statement there. I don't know if I buy that. We'll get to the Lucho situation, but I was happy to see Kubo out there. He, I believe, came in the second half of the game for Luca Orishano and looked pretty decent, honestly. He's rocking a little bit of blonde highlights in his hair.
That.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, a little blonde highlights into the bun. Not bad, but like you said, nice to have him down there. It was the last piece, not to travel down to Clearwater yet, and so happy to have him down there. Ryan, I think we got to put out another poll. I know we put out, is Barreal or Neymar going to play more games? I think the next one we need to put out is which one's more dramatic, an FC Cincinnati offseason or the Bachelorette?
It's about the same at this point, man. And it's pulling at my heartstrings in different ways.
I know.
But no, that's a good one. Now, with the whole Kubo situation, like we didn't get official word to what's going on. There's a lot of rumors. Is it contract based or not? It's again kind of out of character for Kubo, but we're happy he's there. He was training. He actually participated in a match now, so looks like all things may have been resolved. Don't look Monday and see a Laurel Fairler article drop about how Kubo's upset. Of course, that would probably happen or something. But so as we roll into that, the contract issue with Luca Orishano. So, we had the Lucho part, which we'll get to here in a second. But apparently Luca was fit to play from his own words to Laurel. He does have a couple of knocks, but it was something that, was really his choice, it seems like, or maybe in conversation with his agents, waiting on this contract dispute. Again, he does play against Philly on Friday, which goes against this article completely, and maybe it was resolved by then. Is it tied to the Lucho drama? Is it not? There's a lot of ties with that. I have a lot of thoughts. I want to hear yours first.
Yeah, I think Orishano, obviously, we both know he kind of deserves to be a DP, but it's also one of those things where he played half the season as a left wing back, half the season up top, and he played really well when he played up top, but you're only seeing half the season, right? And so you don't want to give DP money to a guy that didn't really prove that he had a right foot, right? So maybe this next season.
No.
What?
Yeah, I'm gonna call you out on this because you last year were all on the hype train about, is Orishano gonna get the DP spot?
No, I think he deserves it. Like I just said,
yeah,
he deserves it. But from a club standpoint, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, and coming from the point of, less than a year ago, this guy signs his loan with his option to buy. And at the time, he willingly signs up for that. He knows what he's getting into. He signs it in December. He should know, hey, yeah. I know it's probably not a right number for me. Last year, a lot of his salary was being paid by his previous team in Brazil, and we were paying a portion of it. Now we're going to have to pay a larger spot. But yeah, it's interesting, and especially in relation to the Lucho situation. So with that one, again, he posts, last week that he's training alone. He's on a stationary bike. He's not too happy about it, and I'm sure Laurel reaches out and we get Lucho's side of things. And apparently there's this big rift of him and Chris Albright. And you kind of get a little bit of both sides on, how each other are feeling. I guess not as much of Chris Albright's side. The club's obviously going to support him. But from Lucho's standpoint, and, maybe to why he made the comments that he did, the timing again is terrible, when he did it. And then, not doing his actual, reporting for media day, or not even media day, but I think a couple days after the season ends.
Yeah, end of the season reviews if you want to. Yeah.
Yeah, so this whole situation, like, I'm conflicted on. Like, I get, you guys have all by now understand the situation and kind of what he's saying, but it's really a interesting situation to say the least. And how is that tied into Luca's spot of things? Is Lucho saying, hey, man, like, fight for yours. You deserve it, just as much as he mentioned with all the other guys. Chris is the reason why Emil Assad's not coming back, why Arias didn't come back, Mourinho. Do you think they understand the roster rules in the MLS, Sam?
I mean, probably to a certain extent. Players are there to play, right? They'll let the front office worry about what it is. But I think from just a emotional standpoint, right? We've always seen Lucho wears his heart on his sleeve, right? On and off the field, right? So I think this is one of those things where it's like, hey, just like I think from a fan standpoint too, like regardless if you're looking at how an MLS roster needs to be constructed, you're looking at it and going, yeah, like we would have liked to have those guys back. Like an Arias would be nice. Moreno would have been nice, you know? So it is what it is. But the more you look into it, you know, moves need to be made for you to be able to put a team out there, right? To be
Right.
compliant with MLS rules.
As much
But
as we like to think we're Miami, like they're not going to
exactly.
make these
Yeah. Yeah.
exceptions for
It
us,
is
I don't
interesting
think.
though the rift on social media now that, you know, all this information is coming about, but then, you know, Pat saying the past couple of days, hey, actually, this was a whole plan. You know, we were gonna have Lucho actually join the group in training, right? The next day. So now you've got fans trying to think like, did the club lie to us? Is Lucho telling the truth? Is like, what is going on here? And I think from our standpoint, I think we want Lucho on the field, right? I think that'd be great, right? Obviously, I've been saying Orshano up top with Denke, and then you got Lucho underneath. Like that's the best front three in the MLS right there. Like done. But would it be also nice to have Evander? Like you know, these questions continue to pop up, right?
So, well,
Um,
yeah, and my 2 cents on it are, you mentioned, you know, uh, Pat Noonan's comments. Like, he's the manager, he's not the general manager. Okay, so he's gonna say his players, he's gonna protect them, honestly, and he's not gonna out them. Like the rift wasn't between him and Lucho; it
yeah.
was between the GM.
Pat and
So
Lucha have always had a good relationship.
yeah, and the whole situation about like Luca Orshano saying he has a knock and that's why he didn't play in the matches. Like again, is more of him protecting his players, in my opinion. And like, does he probably know the insider information? Sure, but like, there's no reason to share it from his side of things and create more drama that way. Like, let the GM figure that part out, whether right, whether wrong. But I don't know, Sam. I don't know if I buy that. Like, he could be training with the first team, sure, but from a pure standpoint of like, okay, you mentioned, in our outline here, we had talked about the Foster Gillette group possibly coming to an agreement. The money that Lucho would potentially make is way more than what any player at Estudiantes would even be at. They're right around $1 million. So it doesn't seem likely that that's going to be the situation. It does not seem like Argentina is the move even at this point because
Yeah,
of that.
no.
Is the Foster Gillette even going to be able to front the money? Apparently, it was like Tom Bogert mentioned, it's a large sum of money.
Well, yeah, and
And
they've got other players that they're trying to buy out and
exactly,
ship to
it
Estudiantes as
seems like
well,
a
like
lot
the
of
guy
talk.
from NYCFC, right?
Yeah, a lot of talk, but they haven't, shown the money yet. Let's say that way. So my 2 cents on that is just like, look, like, yeah, the guy's still here, and if he's training alone, maybe they thought in the moment, okay, well, do you really want him to risk injury and then you lose on that transfer? And you're just kind of protecting your asset in that sense. Is it more of he showed up late to preseason? So, hey, for a little bit, you're going to take some repercussions for this, as well. He can be mad all he wants, but like you didn't show up and you were
Hmm.
under contract, like Pat said. So maybe he was in the doghouse for a little bit. And then he's like, look, you served your time. Now it's time for you to come back. Or, these are all hypotheticals. Is it the situation of like, look, we just didn't find the move that we felt was right for you? I mean, the club obviously agreed to one, but it all comes down to what Lucho wants, really, is what we're finding out. And the verbal agreement is one thing from the clubs, but the player's agreement to his contract and what he's agreeing to there has to also come as well. So whether that's Argentina, obviously he wanted that first, but now, for an MLS move to happen, if it is an interleague, cash trade system, Sam, you reap that, GAM if the trade is above 3 million, I believe. So it's one of those things that, if they proposed, hey, look, Dallas wants you, which is the big name out there in Chicago. Those are the two teams that apparently are rumored to have interest in him. Do they go to him and say, what do you think? Or at this point, are you just saying, look, dude, we knew you wanted to go. We've tried to do everything we could. Now you're shading us behind our backs, you know? And at this point, like, we got to just find the best move for you because we have Evander sitting and waiting. You know, Portland's just waiting for this to happen. I mean, you would think put a 12 to $14 million bid on a player
Yeah.
without thinking that, like, hey, maybe this Lucho situation is now.
Well, I think
progressing that way.
it's another one of those things of looking at the relationship with Chris and Lucho. It doesn't have to be good in order for this team to go well, right? Like he's not like we've said, the direct contact. Pat's the direct contact there. Like he's the coach. He's going to be managing all of these players, right? So as long as that relationship's good,
It's
it should be.
interesting, though, that he, in his comments, says the locker room was not big enough for the two of us, meaning the GM, even though.
Yeah.
So that's what was interesting to me. I totally agree with you. The
Well, yeah,
manager is
Chris
the big
was.
one, but
Yeah, I know Chris had mentioned prior, I think in that same article, how much being a GM, like you're a good guy and a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be the bad guy. And so
Right.
he's like, unlike other GMs who don't have a playing background, he's like, I've seen both sides. He's like, I've been in the locker room. I've been a player. Like
Sure.
I know how it feels to get transferred. So he's like, I can, talk to them at that level. They still don't like me after that, then, that's their problem. But he's like, I got to do what I have to do because, I think this is best for the club. But
do you think that Lucho, this is going to be kind of a dumb question, but you'll find it funny. Does Lucho have enough clout to say, like, look at all the guys that I've hit on, that I've brought in, and you haven't signed my guys, and that's why I'm mad. Does he have enough clout to, like, say, like, hey, we need to be looking at Lucho's guys more than the team? I don't think so.
I mean,
I see, like, that he's recruited these guys, but, like, you're not the general manager. Pat or Chris Albright's the general manager, and if you're not happy about it, too bad, buddy. Like, we've tried to do everything we could, and then all the players that he named, like, one wanted to leave. One was going to require a huge contract, more than what we could even afford to even have a good roster. Bucha's turning into a world-class player for us more than Moreno. So, like, he needs to open his eyes a little bit to, like, they're trying to make this the best they can, and you're just not seeing it or coming around to it. And to kind of, bring this full circle, I think is a good point here to say, if he's going to stay, at least until the summer, his head's got to be here.
Yeah.
And, whether that be in a situation of, hey, we're trying to make it work with Luca Orashano as well, with Kubo, this is what we're going to make it work. Or at this point, I think you have those internal discussions, like, especially after this article comes out, Chris sits down with Lucho and says, look, man, we've tried to do everything you've wanted. This hasn't worked out. You can't come badmouth me and expect this to be okay. Like, we're going to move on from you, and that's the way it is. Like, obviously, Lucho is trying to save face a little bit after his comments, and everyone was very upset. So he's trying to play a little bit of victim in this situation, and I could see how he's kind of backed into a corner. But you've already kind of lost a lot of the fan base in that sense. And
yeah, like you said,
tough for me.
he's trying to recover when he's talking about, man, I really want to win a championship for the city, and I planned on retiring in Cincinnati. And then I think later on in the article, his words is literally, I want to stay in Cincinnati till my contract ends, though. So is it you want to retire in Cincinnati, or do you want to stay until your contract ends? Like, which is it?
That's what we're all confused about. So moving forward, how do you show that your head's in it? How do you show, like, and you have to earn this back if that's the case. And I personally, I don't think it ends up where he stays. I think we do find a move personally, and we try to move on from this scenario and just say, look, like, this is the way it is. I'm sorry. Like, you had a great run here, and you made your comments, and we're doing our part now. But where do you stand right now where it is today, recording now on Sunday? Who knows what will happen on Monday, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I've said, out there on the Twitter sphere, like I think right now, I think both Evander and Lucho are just gonna stay where they are. Like, I feel like this is just gonna come to a standstill, like you said, and we're just gonna have to bite the bullet until the summer. And hopefully team chemistry becomes, better than what it was, which, I mean, I'm sure Lucho doesn't have a problem with guys like Miazga or any of the other, like, captains, I would say. But as far as new guys to the squad that don't really know Lucho or haven't interacted with him, right? And they just read the headlines, right? So they're coming into the roster going, oh, well, this is who he is, right? When
Yeah, and
it could
I
be
think
different.
Laurel touched on, a good point of like these guys are professionals and they know each guy has their own situation. But when it's the club's captain and heartbeat of the team, like you can't tell me that this hasn't affected it. I said it last time is like the morale in the locker room is definitely different, with him off to the side and not participating, especially like you mentioned with new guys that are trying to get integrated to the squad in a style of play that you want to establish that you've been establishing around this player. So don't tell me it's not different. It's definitely different. That's my 2 cents on that part of it. We'll see where this goes. There's a lot of stuff up in there. The third option, Sam, that I had seen just kind of floated out there is Lucho stays and Evander comes as well. And then, we probably have to get rid of Luca Orishano at that point, but I don't know about how that's going to work out financially.
Yeah, I mean, do we try and take a page out of Miami's book? I mean, that would be right. Like, hey, we have all this money. We don't know where it came from. Like, oh my gosh, just Gam came out of no. That's crazy. Like that's like I
Well,
don't
the
know.
DP spot, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that could potentially be but I mean, you have to get rid of somebody at that point if you're going to make that happen. And
yeah,
I don't think that happens at all. We did get another official loan out of Alvaro Barrial. He's going to Santos, as we reported the last time. If he's hit certain performance metrics, then the club will get that purchase option, that $4 million. We did officially sign him to an extension through the 2026 season. We wish him the best of luck down in Santos. It'll be fun to watch him and Neymar on dueling wings.
oh, yeah.
So stay tuned to that. Some other roster rumors. We talked about the Evander one, obviously, is the big one. He's training with Portland, or in Portland, I should say. I don't think he is with the Portland Timbers in their Coachella Invitational. Our bid was rumored at $12 million for him. There's going to be a deadline for this situation, so we'll see where things go with that. I think Dallas was tied into that as well. I haven't even heard anything that they're even interested in the player. But you mentioned, Sam, for NYCFC, Santi Rodriguez, right? He's going to Brazil. So now there's this question of, does NYCFC snoop in and get one Evander? Do the Columbus Crew step in and get Evander now that Cucho's gone?
I mean, possibly. I think people were
That would
talking
just ruin
about
me. That would just wreck me.
I had seen somebody like said either player could go to the Crew, talking about Lucho or Evander. I was like, absolutely not. There's no way that there would ever be an interleague trade between the Crew and Lucho, or the FC Cincinnati for their best player. Like that's not happening.
Unless we got $50 million. But
yes, yeah, $50 million. Yeah, we'll take it.
$50 million. Maybe they can give us lower.com as they move their franchise up north to Cleveland.
Yeah, we can create a nice little training ground.
Yeah,
out of
absolutely.
lower.com. But changing the name, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a weird scenario going on in up north, and we won't even talk about that team a lot, but lost two of their better players in the course of like 3 days. Don't feel bad about it really at all.
No.
It'd be kind of nice.
Yeah.
Brenner was rumored to be interested by the Crew as well.
Very interesting.
That I don't think is going through from what we're hearing. But back to FC Cincinnati roster rumors. Lucas Engel, yet to be announced, left wing back from Middlesbrough. If you guys watch the preseason, he's definitely there. He follows the club on Instagram. We found that. So if you want to go look that up as well. He's wearing the number 29. I kind of suspected that last one. I called it. Not going to say I called it. But happy to see him out there. Looks like he's got some decent service from, I would say, the corner and from free kicks, Sam. I'm excited if that's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, whipping in from the left leg there. I know we had said Orishano was a better corner kick taker than Lucho, and then now it looks like Engel could be the guy to do free kicks, at least from a ways away to where we need to cross it in well outside the 18-yard box. But Yeah. Were you zooming in on the Lego tattoo or?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the announcement to come. Like, as everyone's listening today, it's just going to be a photo of his leg and it's just going to say Lego. And then we're going to roll from there.
Is that the new like Fabrizio Romano Lego instead of here we go?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
just Engel's tattoo. Just says Lego. Another player that was the other trialist, let's be honest. I mean, you can be vague about it all they want, but if we can watch the stream and zoom in on the players, you can see who it is.
Yeah.
Number 32 during the Philadelphia Union game was Noah Adnin. From what we can see, he was a Stanford, I said midfielder last time. He's actually more of a defender. He was playing next to Robinson in the preseason game. He's getting a lot of playing time with the first teamers, even more than some of the FCC2 guys. Sam, do we get an announcement about him soon? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I was watching, so being able to watch that Philadelphia Union game, looked like he was decent on the ball. You could tell he was kind of nervous, as far as like his movements. He had a couple weird little bounces and ways that he was defending. I think his clearances could be a lot better. I think some of them almost led to some goal chances for the Union there, but once again, maybe it's just all nerves and stuff. And obviously, he's playing well enough to be next to Miles Robinson, right? Like MLS All Star. He plays for U.S. Men's National Team. Like that's pretty cool in itself. But no, Adnan. I mean, maybe you see him as an FCC2 player, signed here, but I don't know. He's the only guy that we've seen, stick around. The other two guys that were supposed to be trialists haven't really seen much of them.
Yeah, we had talked about it last time. So Nico Hamalainen and Abdi Salim
Yeah.
in the preseason matches before had seen those guys out there. Sam, you thought you might have seen Nico off to the side, so
Maybe.
we'll see. I don't
You're
I don't
looking
know
you're
if
looking at the stream, and I saw Kevin Denke, right, as his giant eye that we'll talk about. I thought I had seen kind of Nico's hair that he's got in the background sitting next to some of the trainers. I might be completely wrong, but that's what it looked like.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you bring these trialists in, the true trialists, not the
Yes,
ones
yeah.
that are named as trialists but are on the roster but not on the roster yet. But yeah, those guys, I mean, they get a shot, and maybe with Noah Adnin as well, you throw them out and see what you get. But for FCC2, some of the roster moves that you get in the past 2 weeks, Sam, you found this one, I believe. I want to hear you pronounce this name here.
Yeah, Tega Koba, 21 years old, 7 goals, 2 assists, and 12 appearances for the Timbers second team. He actually got a hat trick in one of the games against Sporting KC, the second team. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But he spent a decent amount of time with Indy 11 last season. Seems to be a promising guy. He played for the Timbers Academy for a while. And I would assume you'd see him kind of get minutes in between both squads. You could possibly see him maybe be that type of like Dotto player, right? That was last year. Going in between both squads. I don't know how much, but 21 years old, pretty solid.
I struggle with first team minutes for this player with how many different strikers we have in the first team.
Depends. One might be on the way out. I don't.
Yeah. Well, we did get some confirmation of that, so we'll touch on that. But so we've also re-signed Amir Daly, another player I think has a bright future at wing-back position. So look forward to him. And then Andres Davia, this 18-year-old guy from Colombian side Deportivo Independiente Medellin. It was very interesting about this guy. He was named in the Guardian's Next Generation 2024, so really talented player. So this list was of the most talented young soccer players from around the world, actually. Was on the same list as Lamine Yamal, Barcelona, absolute legend right now.
Stud,
so, it seems to be a great 18-year-old striker. I think he had a nickname. I saw it somewhere. Something about like how strong he was. So apparently this striker is just apparently built. So him and Denke might be good friends.
Hey, there you go.
But yeah, we've signed a lot of FCC2 guys.
It could be another one on the way, possibly as well. The one we were speculating, I think, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's true. So, they're starting to round out their roster, but a lot of these guys seem to be more talents that could potentially translate to the first team more than what we've seen in the past few years, I think.
Well, yeah, they're also, most of them are from outside the U.S.
Right, which is again like it's interesting.
Yeah.
And how does that translate? But we had another FCC Academy product, very, very talented player as well. Admir Chavez, a guy we got from LAFC, was seen training, I think, with Paul Pogba at one point. And then Slade Hall, another goalkeeper in the first team training. So, Sam, I'm going to ask you this question. We've seen a couple of these guys for a couple preseason games now. You're more likely FCC2 player to make a first team appearance out of the ones that we've talked about. What do you think?
Oh boy. I think Kenji and Babadem. I think he's got a good opportunity. I know we saw him score this last preseason game that we'll touch on, but I think up top if I remember right, he led the FCC2 in scoring, I think, this past season.
He did.
And so I think from that forward standpoint, you talk about the depth that we already have. I think he is one of those pieces. He is that probably Kimi piece from the past couple of seasons. He'll probably slot into that role of, we'll see him play, in a Champions Cup game, I would assume, if, we're up on aggregate by a lot here in the first couple of games. But that would be the one I'm looking out for. What about you?
I'm going to go with either Amir Daly or Andre Sharilla. So Stefan Sharilla's younger brother, I believe it was younger brother, center back, or Amir Daly, who's a wing back. Both positions we honestly need depth there. So I think you see one of those guys slot in. Amir had a really good season last year for FCC2. So just to give you guys some names to look out for, I feel like we wanted to cover that and keep covering the FCC2 and highlight. They had a great season last year. Looking forward to seeing these guys contribute. As we touch the Philadelphia Union game, Sam, we see how strong our reserves are. And I think it can't be undermined. Our academy, our second team, it rivals Philadelphia Union's famed academies and their reserves now. I think we're up on another level, and hopefully we'll start to get that recognition. But let's hear a trivia question before we go to a break.
Yeah, absolutely. So trivia question of the week this week, Ryan, is how many current players on FC Cincinnati's roster are from South America?
Talking the first team roster?
First team roster.
First team only. South America. Not North America, South America.
Yes, would be south, the direction. Yes.
I'm going to go with 5.
5 players. Can you name them, or you want to hold off?
Well, I can think of a couple Argentinian guys. Lucho Oreshano.
Yeah. Couple. You don't have to. I mean,
trying to think of, we possibly will have, we have Santos, who's Brazilian. So we have 3 there.
Yeah.
Possibly a Paraguayan guy with Flores. Yeah. So that'd be 4 if you're going to include him.
Yeah.
And then, I can't think of a 5th, but that was a good shot.
All right. So we got 5. We'll lock it in, and we'll see how it is on the other side.
Hey, FC Cincinnati fans. We are pumped to share our new sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
I'm sipping on the passion fruit margarita, which is so spicy, and it makes me feel like I'm on the beach.
Ooh, that sounds great. I'm drinking the Blood Orange Spritz, which has a great subtle ginger flavor coming from its scientifically formulated recipe to promote exercise recovery, enhance relaxation, and support a better night's sleep.
Ryan, that's exactly why I love them. Their cocktails are designed to fit seamlessly into your health-conscious lifestyle, giving you the enjoyment of a delicious adult drink without the downsides of alcohol.
Guys, next time you are looking for that post-workout drink or an afternoon pick-me-up, grab a Peak Cocktail. Visit them at www.peakcocktails.com and use the code Flyin Lion at checkout to get 20% off your first order. Zach, enjoy your drink.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for listening to one of our sponsors here. we wanted to real quickly touch on a cool collaboration we did with the Designated Players podcast last week. As the season approaches here, everyone's getting super excited about the MLS season, CONCACAF Champions Cup, all these new rumors and players on FC Cincinnati especially. But we were able to talk with these guys a little bit about the season and the preview. They had some cool ideas, I think, with like doing their Scarf of the Week, so go check that out. They're also a part of Goals TV, so again, check us out on Goals TV. Sam, anything you wanted to mention with that?
Yeah, I thought it was a good opportunity for us to kind of represent the orange and blue. Nice of them to ask us to represent. And yeah, continue to just go support, check out, the episode on all platforms, specifically Goals TV, trying to build that up. Would appreciate the support.
Absolutely. There's more soccer that's going on, and we touched on it at the beginning of the episode. Preseason game number 2, we're going to quickly go through with Houston Dynamo. Real quick lineup that we had was Celentano, trialist. It's probably Engel, probably Adnan, Miles Robinson, Andre Shirilla, Yedlin, Wobodo, Ngula, Bucha. We had Peter Mangalone and Kevin Denke. We did get a 40th minute goal from Pavel Bucha. Bucha's on trajectory. It's the year of Bucha. Like, I'm very excited about him, but was playing a more advanced midfield role in this game. Picked the pocket of the center back and slotted it home. Ended up being the only goal for us. Houston gets a late goal for a player. I can't think of who it was, but outran Brian Schaefer, a guy who we had very, I don't know, like supported. I would just say,
Yeah.
we think high of him, but in this one, he just gets outraced by this guy and chipped Evan Leroux, but ends up being a 1-1 game. In the second half, we had a lot more of some second team guys that came in, so that's when the goal happens. I'm not going to say that's all because of that. Take that what you will. But the second game was not as fun as the third, because the third we did get to watch. So we, at least from the second, from what we heard, played decent. I think Bucha is the big highlight for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're looking at the second game, being able to look back and see the clips, right, the day after of Bucha's goal, which he picked the center back's pocket, slots it away home. I think you've seen this continue for FC Cincinnati under Pat Noonan. This high press, once again, will continue to be a focal point for FC Cincinnati's attacking front from the midfield up. I think that'll be a huge driving force that we continue to emphasize as we, turn the ball over in the opponent's own half. And, that creates a lot of chances for us, especially last season.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think even Pat, I'm pretty sure, had highlighted that too at some point in this offseason about how quick we want to play in a high press. And I feel like Denke can support that. Like, he seems to be a very defensive-minded center forward. I think if you look at Evander, he could be another one that is a more high-pressing guy if that ends up working out as well. So that system could be in place. I think that's a good shout. As we went into the preseason game number 3 against Philadelphia Union, like, big shocker, Sam, that we're playing Philly in the preseason. But thanks to them for the YouTube clips that we got to watch the whole game, actually.
Yeah.
We killed
with some
them.
Commentation.
Yeah, plus some commentation. We had some replays as well.
Yeah.
I mean, props to Philly. But yeah, we just destroyed them. 4-1 win for the Orange and Blue. Didn't start off very hot. We had a first half lineup similar to the Houston game with Celentano. We had Alvis Powell back there, Miles Robinson, Noah Adnan playing that left center back spot, Lucas Engel wearing the 29, Brian Anunga, and Obi, I believe, were more of like dueling sixes. Pavel Bucha was a little bit more advanced. We did have DeAndre Yedlin out wide right, Luca Orishano and Kevin Denke. I think probably, would you say, Orishano going out a little bit more onto the right, kind of going in and out, but was slightly below Denke. And that was our lineup. We got scored on, 7 minutes into the game. Classic FC Cincinnati here in the past season, but from a corner.
Yeah.
And I believe it was Noah Adnan's mark, if I remember going back and looking at it.
Yeah, looking at the
somebody missed their
Philadelphia
mark.
Union's clip. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was him. Kind of some other points about the game before we go too far into it was just that, of course, this is the first time we're watching any live video, right? And we're zooming in, we're looking at who's around, who's not. Lucho was sitting on a water cooler at one point behind the bench in a blue shirt, not even in uniform. Moved over to sit next to Miazga, I believe next to Hagelin, Santos, and Hidebe. Hidebe did not play. He had a hamstring injury, like we mentioned. No Corey Baird. He was out with an illness. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so those are kind of to set you up with why the starting 11 that we had. You did not see Kubo start, Sam. You saw him in the second half, probably more just the fact that he's just coming into the
Fitness.
squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would expect probably him to slot in for Anunga in this situation, would you say?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so, depending on, what Pat wants to see, right? You could see him mix it up and throw Kubo in there maybe in Buka's role and bring Buka back down, right? So could be a rotation there.
Yeah. Yeah, and so with obviously these injuries, it's going to create opportunity. And unfortunately, the 41st minute of the game, Kevin Denke goes up for a header with Jacob Glesnes. Of course, it had to be Glesnes. And I'm pretty sure he just headed the guy's back of his head.
Yeah.
He's got a huge lump over his left eye. At first, I'm just hoping that he didn't have a fracture. I mean, it was a lot of swelling right away. No, apparently concussion protocol, which is great. Apparently just be day-to-day. The guy's going to have a huge black eye and won't be able to see out of that left eye, I would imagine, for a little while. But I think he'll end up being up okay, which is good. We need him, obviously. That was the big highlights, I think, of the first half, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Second half comes in, and I think Pat Noonan has his patented halftime talk, and we come out strong. We had Kubo that came in for Orshano, Stefan Chirilla for Denke, so it was nice to see Chirilla out there with the first team. But we get a goal, 61st minute, Sam. Pavel Bucha. It was kind of nice, again, to see him play more forward in the midfield, and I feel like he was just leading the charge. Like, I really feel like, I hate to say it, without Lucho in there, Bucha has been the orchestrator and was taking people on. You saw some nifty moves by him, and he's been having himself a nice preseason. I'm not going to get on to the comparison of his preseason to Aaron Bupenza's, because Bupenza had a good one last season. But yeah, I think Bucha's the real deal. It was a nice goal that he had, his second of the preseason, like we had mentioned. 3 minutes later, we get an Obi goal. And from there, we're up 2-1. There's a cross that comes in from Yedlin. The ball's kind of bounced around. Obi slots it with his left foot off the post and then off of Andre Blake's back.
That's kind of like back-to-back mistakes. I mean, I don't know if you want to call that a mistake for Andre Blake, but it was a little back-to-back goals were kind of on him, literally, because the first one, Pavel Bucha, once again, like intercepting a pass from Blake, which very uncharacteristically. But yeah, back-to-back goals in 3 minutes, like, whoo, all right.
Yeah, I love that. And then we brought in a lot more subs, some second team or reserve guys, and you get a Brett Halsey goal, the 86th minute. Beautiful finish by him if you want to go watch that video. And then Mamba Dem gets a goal in the 115th minute for a 4-1 win. I go back to look, kind of at the end of the game because I missed, I think, the last 10 or 15 minutes. And Philly actually removed their video from YouTube because I think they were so embarrassed about the game.
Well, they only posted one highlight afterwards, right? So that's all. Like that's all you're really getting. But that is pretty funny. They're like, we should probably take this down. All the FC Cincinnati, like they're watching their geographic region, and the only people watching are FC Cincinnati fans at that point, probably.
100%. Yeah, and if you look at how teams approach it, like obviously you have the Coachella Invitational out west, and people can watch that. But if you're down in Florida, it depends team by team if you're going to be able to watch these games.
Yeah.
And I think what's really funny to me, like obviously we get to watch this, but then they delete it right away, whether that was like a planned thing or not. If you look at Columbus Crew, Sam, they just got smacked by Nashville. And they always say it's a close scrimmage for their games. I think it was a 4-2 win for Nashville, but they don't even report the scores at all. So
Weird.
it's very variable on how they do the preseasons.
Yeah, because I know, well, it's also the same thing with like trialists, right? Like FC Cincinnati seems to be very traditional in that sense, where hey, we
Sure.
want to keep things private. You know, if we haven't signed the guy, we haven't signed him, right? So he's
Right.
going to be a trialist regardless if you know who it is or not. And then
Well,
you've
I
got
think they
other
have to.
teams
Yeah.
that are just, hey, here they are. Like we're going to put them on the team sheet. It's like,
Well, and
oh,
that's why I think when they had Nico and Abdi Salim earlier on in the season, they said trialist, but this is who it is. It's like,
yeah.
oh, they're getting ahead of it. So that I don't know, it's interesting. My takeaways from the game, second half was incredible. You heard my thoughts about Bucha. I think Obi and Anunga together could be a nice pairing as
Hmm.
well. I don't think that's probably sustainable for like a whole match. Like,
Well, another good sub, right, in the second half.
yeah, when you're up, when you're winning, I think
Yeah.
that more defensive, mids there. Maybe it allows Buka to push up a little bit forward if you keep him in.
Hmm.
Maybe you sub him out for that. I don't know. But those are my takeaways, and it's nice again to see reserves, second team guys come in and just dominate Philly. Like there's all this talk about Kevin Sullivan and all of this. It's like we just destroyed the Union, which is great to
Hmm.
see. They do have a new coach, so they're obviously trying to implement a little bit different of a system right now. But a lot of what their lineup looks like from last year is similar to this year, very similar to us, I think. Would you say?
Yeah, yeah, I think so as well. I think, our young guys, you saw Ben Augie with a great cross, good assist to Halsey, still undrafted or still unsigned. So our draft pick still unsigned. We have yet to kind of secure him. So that'll be another thing to watch. You know, how does, the Noah Adnan signing go, or how does Ben Augie go? Like how do the FCC2 guys fit in and different things. I think that'll be something else to watch as we get closer to the season starting.
There's a lot of flexibility there, though, which is good. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what you want in solid depth pieces, if that's going to be that case. Like, obviously, these guys are young, but they're showing a lot of promise and a lot
Hmm.
of hunger. They're
Yeah.
showing that they can learn quickly, under Noonan and the system that we've set up. So I'm definitely happy to see, especially this last result after the first two. Obviously, you win the first one. The second one, like you obviously draw, but you didn't really have a lot of the main pieces. Now we're starting to get a lot of the main pieces together, and you need that. I mean, you're less than 2 weeks away from the start of the season, so we need to get these guys rolling. There's just so much uncertainty still. So as we go to this last preseason match, Wednesday, February 12th, we play Atlanta. This game is going to be streamed as well, so go check out Atlanta United's page for their video. But kind of interesting matchup, Sam. It's been a big offseason for Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. They've had two giant signings back to back. It felt like they had Miguel Almiron come back to the club on a DP spot through 2027, 2028, $10 million transfer there. They put out a whole, the red carpet for him. You know, they're kind of, I don't know, first star signing, if you want to call, when they first became a club. Almiron was kind of like their guy with Joseph Martinez, right? Martinez now plays in San Jose. So it was like, should he come back? Like should he go back to Atlanta? But Atlanta was like, actually, we've got, another striker for you to play with. And a record signing blew our signing out of the water as far
Yeah,
as
they
like
couldn't have waited a little bit.
MLS
Come
money.
on.
But they signed Lath from
Emmanuel
Middlesbrough.
Latte Lath.
Emmanuel Latte Lath. I mean,
Yeah.
interesting name, but seems to be pretty decent. 14 goal comps in 29 games in the championship there. Um, I thought it was interesting though that the record signing was, almost near 20 mil, right? And his evaluation on transfer market was like 10. So I don't I don't know, if it's just he's playing hot, he's really good, promising now, but
Yeah. The
found that
the
interesting.
the thing with him is apparently from all that I'm hearing and seeing is he's pretty much a Premier League striker, and they paid more of that money ahead of time.
Uh,
So they paid that fee understanding that, like, hey, this is a premium player. He should be in the Premier League. He would have been in the Premier League probably if you guys didn't swoop in. But yeah, again, it's not an Atlanta United podcast. So I'm excited to see our team match up against these pieces, though. These guys have to gel together. Like, they put $30 million into the last couple months to put together their forward room, and they're very excited about it. But they had the same thing going on with a couple other strikers and center midfielders the last couple years, and it didn't come together. So I'm excited to see if we have our main group in this, how do we match up against theirs? And I'm really hoping that Hidebe is healthy for this match. I'm really hoping that Kubo slots into a starting role as well for now. I
believe,
think
I
you'll
believe,
see.
yeah, I believe we're gonna see this game. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I said you're gonna see a stream. There's a stream of it.
Yeah.
There's a stream of it, but I was just gonna say I don't think you'll see Lucho in this one.
No. I mean, he's just joining first team practices, which, like I had hoped, we get to see Lucho or Shano and Denke up top. Like, that would get me back in the rhythm of like, okay, all right, like if he stays, like this could be good. This could be good here. But I don't know if we're getting any of those either.
Yeah, it's if he does, like, you want him out there as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And I just don't think you'll probably see Denke as well. They'll probably take it easy with him so he doesn't get any more knocks to his head.
No.
So maybe the forward room looks a little bit different right now than what it will, come another week and a half from now.
Well, and maybe that's Kubo going up top, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it'll probably be him and Shirilla, because Santos is still out. It's very interesting. A lot of injuries, right? Like, already. And that is kind of frustrating to me. Like, it's the beginning of the season. Obviously, these guys are coming off of a break. Historically, like, ramping back into things, some people will get those, but like, to me, it sounds like some of these could have been, it's easy for me to say preventable, but like a couple of hamstring injuries already, and I don't know. It's frustrating again after the year we had last year with all these major injuries. Hopefully, again, these are just short-term things. You figure it out now. You have a healthy season. We have a lot of games moving forward, Sam.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Before we go, couple notes that I would want to say. Again, first Champions Cup game is going to be down in Honduras, and that is going to be on, I believe it was February 19th, Sam?
Yeah.
So that game is coming in hot. We got to get some things figured out if we want to have a viable competition there. Tigres did lose their first round matchup.
Yeah.
So that was the game. Obviously we didn't want to look past this Honduran squad that we're going to be playing in Montagua, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, you can't ignore that result that Tigres lost. So hopefully that might affect some things too. It'd be very good for us, especially if we don't have all of our ducks in a row to start the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, don't want to look past the Honduras club, but it would be nice to have obviously a nice smoother path to the another trophy that we could win. But Ryan, I'll give you the trivia question answer here, and we'll sign it off. But the question was, how many current players on FC Cincinnati's roster are from South America? Ryan had said 5, and then he went on to name 4, and the answer was 4. So you probably should have just gone with the people that you named. I'm sure people listening in the first half of the podcast were like, he just named 4 players. Why didn't he guess 4 there? But hey, there could have been a mystery player out there that we didn't think of or hear. But yeah, the answer was 4. You had Lucho, Orishano, Santos, and now Gilberto Flores will be joining.
Okay, so I nailed it, but I just said the wrong number. All right.
I believe the question was right, and the answer was 5, and the answer was 4. But
I hope you guys all got that one. You had some time to think about it, unlike me. I guess that's my own fault. I could have read the outline too. But at the same time, thanks again for listening. We'll have a big season preview coming up in the next week. We'll talk a little bit about what our thoughts are on each cup competition that we have moving forward. where the roster stands. Hopefully we'll get some finalizations. Is Evander here? Is he not? Is Lucho here? Is he not? It's coming up quick, so hopefully we'll have those answers. Thanks again, Sam. We'll see you guys next time.